I think you can remember the advice given by the Buddha regarding this. A man who had been leading a religious life had only one problem for his spiritual development. His name was Bahya. So he decided to come and see the Buddha and told him, it's a long story. So I can practice all the other precepts and principles and good qualities and morals and this and that. But still I cannot control my five senses. Can you please tell me how to do that? The Buddha has given a very practical advice. He said, Ditthe ditthamattam, sute sutamattam. He went on explaining. Evam te bahya sikkhitabba. He said, when you happen to see something, don't close your eyes. Look at. Look at properly. Then, if possible, try to analyze to know what it is. Because we use only, or we take only the superficial value or the outlook of the object. Never use our penetrative knowledge to analyze and understand what it is. So our identity is wrong. So here the Buddha says, look at. After that, don't bring that object into your mind and occupy there. That is the problem with us. In our case, when you happen to see something, we look, after that we bring that object into the mind and occupy. Then going on bothering, disturbing the mind. Either good things or bad things. Sound. When you hear something, listen very carefully. Listen mindfully. After listening, stop. Don't bring that sound vibration into your mind and occupy, because otherwise this one goes on haunting your mind. So all the five senses you can control very easily in that way. This is the practical way. So when you happen to see very ugly, horrible thing, then we occupy that in our mind. Then go and tell others also, I happen to see something today, I am scared. Because of that. That one is disturbing, not that which appear there. The idea that he has taken from there as an object, disturbed, not that particular object. You know the famous story, you might have heard more than 100 times this story, that two monks, the story of those two monks were taking bath in a river. A young girl who wanted to cross the river, because the water level was gone very high. So he asked one of these monks to help her to cross the river. So the one monk said, no, we cannot carry girls. So he refused. Then the other monk said, don't worry, I'll help you. So he carried this girl to the other bank of the river and allowed her to go. And the other monks got angry with this monk. So after taking bath, they have gone back to their monastery and went to sleep. The monk who carried that girl was sleeping very nicely, without any problem. The monk who got angry because of this could not sleep. All the while he was thinking about this. Then when he saw the other monk is sleeping so nicely, he disturbed him also. After doing a dirty joke also, you are sleeping so nicely, I cannot sleep here. Then he asked, what is wrong with you? Then he asked, why did you carry that girl? Then he told, I carried that girl from this bank to the other bank and dropped. After that, that girl is no more in my mind. But it seems still you are carrying that girl in your mind. That is why you cannot sleep. Now see the example. This is what the Buddha says. So we must know how to act. That is the way how to control our senses. Otherwise, we cannot stop all these things. When there are so many disturbances, people say we cannot meditate. Why? Because they want to take all those things into their mind. But many others can do what they do. They take those objects for their meditation. They concentrate on those objects. After that, the disturbances or irritable feeling never appear in the mind. Concentrate directly toward this object. So try to control the senses in that way. In simple language, not to become slaves to your own senses. Next one. Try to develop your understanding without maintaining silly ideas. We have our own ideas. Most of them were preconceived ideas from our childhood, are still working in our mind. So it is difficult for us to get rid of them. So when we learn, when you listen, when you read, when you discuss with others, so we have to reduce or withdraw certain belief and concept that we have accommodated earlier. Now when we were small children, we might have heard so many stories from our parents or grandparents about devils and ghosts and hantus and so many things. All these concept beliefs are going on haunting in our mind. That is how we create unnecessary fear in our mind. Because these things were injected into our mind when we were young. And another group of children who had never heard this kind of thing during their younger days, never maintained this belief. They have no such fear in their mind. You can see the difference now. Now you are scared of so many things today because of that. You cannot withdraw this thing. Learning means withdrawing those things that you have accommodated earlier. That realization about mostly on religious subject. Because religion is depend on belief. everything for us to believe. But we cannot analyze these beliefs. These are the concepts we develop as belief and faith. Later, we surrender our intelligence, our education, our reasoning because of that. Because they have occupied the mind earlier, belief. That is the very reason why the Buddha said, don't develop your belief and faith at the beginning in your mind. Keep vacuum in your mind to think further. One day you can realize the truth. If you accommodated these things as your faith and belief, after that you cannot learn anything. That is how a lot of conflicts and clashes take place amongst different religious groups. These beliefs are the main reason. Try to understand. Then shame, impudent, shamelessness. What is this shame? There are two important things, shame and fear. But not ordinary shame or ordinary fear that you maintain in your mind. In the religious language, we interpret this as moral shame and moral fear. These two are very meaningful words. Otherwise, ordinary shame and fear depend on emotion. Your emotion creates that shame or that fear, but no moral values. Then how to analyze? What is moral shame? By considering your human life, your humane qualities and virtues and duties, there is a moral code for us to follow. If you violate one of these morals or discipline, you abuse your human dignity, your human intelligence, human life. That is called moral shame. Now you can understand what it is. That's why we say, as a religious man, as an educated man, or as a human being, it is a shameful thing for me to do. That is called moral shame. Then, moral fear. The fear that we develop in our mind to violate peace and happiness of others. That is called moral fear. You want to disturb somebody else. You want to kill to satisfy your desire. Then you violate your moral code. Now if you think in this way, oh, I am scared to do that because I know it is wrong, it is painful, creates suffering, miseries. So I cannot do that, I am scared to do that. That type of fear, the fear we develop in our mind to violate peace and happiness of others. It is not that the fear that you have in your mind, fear of devil, fear of ghost, fear of this and that. So, maintain these, how many? 8 virtues. All are humane qualities. Then, under what category? These are under humanism. To behave as cultured, civilized human beings. Humanism. Differentiate between animal life and human's life. So that is humanism. All the good qualities. To maintain respectable, harmless, useful human life. These qualities are important. So according to our own experience, we can understand the validity of these qualities. Not necessary to depend on religion. Not necessary to tell others. The Buddha also advised us to do these things. Because you also have human mind to understand these things. Because there are many in this world who have no religion whatsoever, no God, no Buddha, no heaven, no hell to them. But they too practice many of these qualities we have seen. That's why I told you not to depend on religion or God or Buddha. By using your common sense you can understand these things are important. Real human values you can see here. So now we are going on, developing and developing further and further. Just started only our metta. See how we are cultivating our human way of life to radiate this metta. Last one. Not to be greedily attached to families. Now this is a very difficult thing for you to do. But if you can understand what the Buddha is trying to say, there is no difficulty. That's why he added this extra word, not to greedily attach. So attachment is one thing, greedily is another thing. If you develop your attachment greedily, emotionally, then you have to suffer a lot. That means attachment between husband and wife, very important. Religion never say it is wrong. Attachment between parents and children is very, very important. Religion encourages us to do that. Never say it is bad. At the same time, some people become slaves to that attachment and then invite so many problems. So in that attachment also there is a limit. This attachment we have to develop with understanding. How? Now you are attached to each other emotionally, say husband and wife. Suddenly something happened, either to the husband or wife, either motor car accident or any other misfortune. Now, the other person cannot tolerate anymore. Either commit suicide or go mad. That is the danger of emotional attachment. So when you develop your attachment, you had to develop that in such a way. So under certain circumstances, I must know how to apply the brake to face it. That is what the Buddha says. Develop your attachment with understanding, mindfully. If anything happens, you must have courage to face it. Your children also the same thing. And your property, you collect and collect and collect, suddenly fire, turn into ashes, or flood, or thieves, then you go mad. But if you have developed this attachment with this understanding, well, everything is uncertain in this world. Life also uncertain, property also uncertain, anything can happen at any time. If such thing happens, I must have courage to face. Natya khuddang samachare kinchi yena vinyu pare upavadeyo sukhino va khemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. It's what yena vinyu. Pali and Sanskrit language, there is one particular character, nya, which we cannot find in many other languages. So since there is no any other character romanized, we have to use an. But there is indication there on the top to get that pronunciation. Nya, not na. But sometimes we have to pronounce so that only for get that pronunciation. Na. Say na cha kutta. There na. Here vinyu nya sound. Vinyu. Vinyana. Vinyana. Consciousness. Vinyu. Knowledge. Here vinyu means realization, understanding. Vinyu pare upadevya. And the other one is cha, C-A. Ka and cha. In English also sometimes C-H-A. We have to pronounce it cha or ka, characteristic like ka. Like charity, cha. In the same manner, for Pali language also, this pronunciation is important. Nacha khuddang samachare kinchi yena vinyo pare upavadeyo sukhino va khemino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitatta. Is V-A, va. Va means or not. Va, Pali, one word. Or not, or if not. He should not commit any slight wrong such that the wise men might censor him. May all beings be happy and secure. May their heart be wholesome. Now going to start. Up to this, the stanza, we have been talking about the cultivation of certain virtues and characteristics and behaviors and manners and duties, so many things. So after preparing the ground, now we are going to start this metta. Still there are a few more here. He should not commit any slight wrong such that other wise men might censor him. Well, I think you cannot wait until you reach that stage to radiate your loving kindness. When you consider about your early life, your commitments and responsibilities, it is impossible, actually speaking, to avoid the slightest mistake. But you should not create any disappointment because of this. Why? That you cannot become perfect. The difficulty is this. We try to be perfect, but circumstances change our mind. Then why circumstances can change our mind very easily? The reason is, we have been using our mind for a long period, even during our previous birth, to make mistakes. So we are used to it. To change that mind, not an easy task at once. Although we know these things are wrong, but still we experience a lot of difficulty. Since there is no other choice, what we do, we try to justify. There's nothing wrong. Everybody is doing this. That is not an excuse. After all, everybody is doing it. When certain immorals or selfish or wicked ideas or practices have become very common, people say everybody is doing it. Everybody is doing it? Yes, everybody has to face the consequences also. So, try our best, as much as we can, by realizing this situation. Then we can maintain some sort of peace or some satisfaction in our mind to start this. Then other wise men might censor. Here wise men mean those who have reached that higher stage, like religious people who are really religious-minded or saints, very understanding people can condemn or criticize or point out. Here wise men mean those who have reached that higher stage, like religious people who are really religious minded, or saints, very understanding people can really condemn or criticize or point out that your ideas or your actions or your way of life is wrong, because they can understand. That is what Buddha is doing here. By realizing the situation, so he tried to guide us by explaining one by one, according to our character, according to our way of thinking. He tried to correct us. But when we are trying to practice, we feel difficult. Sukhino va khemino. Now start. May all beings be happy and secure. But easy to recite. Recitals anyone can do. But the concept, the idea, the feeling that we have created in our mind is the important thing. The words are not important thing. Whether you recite or not, if you can create such ideas or thoughts in your mind, then immediately the cruelty, anger, jealousy and so many evil forces have no chance to influence the mind at that time. Otherwise, by harboring all sorts of evil thoughts in your mind, you can recite this. May all living beings be well and happy. There's no effect at all. Then, to create such thoughts in our mind, also not so easy. Because we have so many preconceived or deposited concepts in the mind earlier, not only within this life, during so many previous births. Anger or ill will or grudge, selfishness, not suddenly arise in our mind. Ingredients of all these thoughts, they are already in our mind. But the circumstances pave the way for them to come up to the surface of the mind. Then we can see the character, the nature. By knowing this situation, so what we are trying to do, either by concentrating or contemplating. Concentrating means focusing mind towards an object, reflect into the mind, then guard the mind. At that time, the mindfulness is there. We watch the mind. That is concentration. Contemplation is another thing. We contemplate on a particular item, say about our life, the situation, the formations, or the feeling, or the changes, the world, what is happening in this world, we have to think unbiasedly. That is contemplation. So when we contemplate, some sort of realization, understanding appears in our mind. And this understanding changes the mental attitudes. What sort of attitude? If we are very selfish, then we can reduce them. Or jealous, or crazy. Slowly we can reduce this. That is the advantage of contemplation. Then we go on developing further and further and further by analyzing many things one after the other. That is contemplation. Then, when mind becomes calm, that is the time that we can radiate. Otherwise, that mind is just like a pot of boiling water. When the water is boiling, the bubbles are there. You can peep, but you cannot see the reflection, your face there in the water. That means you cannot concentrate or contemplate at that time. You cannot catch the objects. The mind is just like boiling water. Confusion. When the boiling water gets calmed down, go and peep, then you can see the reflection, your face there. That means calmness in the mind, exactly like that. Then easily you can contemplate by taking an object, analyze. Like when people are worried, angry, they come and ask how to meditate to control this. At that time they cannot meditate. The mind is just like the boiling water. The meditation is important earlier for us to practice to avoid that situation. So if we have done this earlier, that situation never arises in the mind. You not have to wait until So not to create fear in others' mind, to get that insecurity. So by doing that, we also cultivate our own qualities. May their hearts be wholesome. Heart or mind makes no difference. But usually when we talk, we say, some people use only their mind, but not heart. Some others use only heart, but not the mind. So what will happen? Those who use only their mind very seldom develop their good qualities and virtues and kindness and compassion and understanding. They can become very nasty, very intelligent, very skeptical, very stubborn people. They use only mind. Some people use only their heart without using their mind. And what will happen? They become kind-hearted fools. Yes, there are many. They never use their mind, use only heart. Others can bully them, bluff them, mislead them, because they never think. So both are important. So we have to use mind and heart, both. Anyway, this is not the religious language. This is our normal way of talking. In Buddhism, there are no two things, mind and heart. Mind is mind, that's all. Then the controversy is, some people say the mind is in the brain, some others say it is in the heart. It is a controversial issue. Let it be anything, why worry about that? Because no one can see the mind. Only mental attitudes, indication, the nature of the mind. Just like a motor car, or train, or plane, vehicles, roads. We cannot see the energy in that vehicle. There is energy. So the mind is just like that energy inside that engine. So their hearts be wholesome. So wholesome and unwholesome. Now these two words are religious words. In Pali we say Chetana, Pali word. Whatever we think and talk and do intentionally by using either one of our evil thoughts or good thoughts. Then these thoughts, words, actions become either wholesome or unwholesome. So, akusala kamma and kusala kamma, two words, also belong to the same group. The karma, either good karma or bad karma, we create through one of these, either wholesome or unwholesome. I think you have heard, our words or mere action cannot create any karma, either good karma or bad karma, if that situation is not there, wholesome or unwholesome mental attitudes. One of these things must be there. So there are three main roots which create all these things, either wholesome or unwholesome. What are those three? Now these three are solely responsible for all our good thoughts and bad thoughts, good action and bad action. Lobha, dosa, moha. Three. These are the three. So we inherited. These are our intrinsic mental attitude. But we have different degrees. Otherwise, no one is free. Lobha, dosa, moha. So in English, we say craving or desire or selfishness. Then dosa, anger, hatred, ill will, grudge. There are various degrees. And moha, ignorance, illusions or delusions or hallucinations also. So when you analyze all these three, you can understand how these three evil forces create all the bad things, bad thoughts, bad words, bad actions in this world. That's what Buddha says. Lobho akusala moolam. Craving is the main root of all our akusala karma, bad karma. Doso akusala moolam. Our hatred is the cause of all our evil thoughts, words and action. Moho akusala moolam. Our ignorance or illusion is the main cause of our bad karma. If one of these three, or three of them, no one can create any bad karma. Impossible to create. That's why I told the Buddhas or Arahantas cannot create akusala karma because these three evil roots are no more in their mind. On the other hand, he says, alobho kusala moola. Lobha and alobha. Alobha means free from lobha. If there is no lobha, if there is no craving, and that thought creates kusala karma, good karma. When you are going to contribute or donate something for a worthy cause, you have reduce your lobha or your craving at that time. Otherwise, you cannot do this good karma. By reducing your craving, you contribute something. You not by reducing your selfishness, you go and do something. Then, adoso kusala. When the mind is free from anger or hatred, that mind creates kusala karma, good karma. So, when you, since you have not eradicated completely, keep it under control, subdue, without allowing anger or hatred to flare up. At that time, you can develop your kindness or compassion, understanding, to appreciate certain good things, to calm your mind. then all these thoughts, words, actions become kusala karma, good karma. Then amoha, kusala. And the mind is free from ignorance. The thoughts which appear in that mind become kusala karma, good karma. Why? Ignorance always hinders. Mind is clouded by various kind of ignorance. So when that ignorance is no more in that mind, then mind can use its mental force unbiased, without selfishness. Then we know how to appreciate certain good things, how to do certain good things or some services to others. Because ignorance is not prevailing in that mind at that time. Later we come back. But for the time being, we have maintained our mind in that. Then further, how to create complete good karma or complete bad karma. This is another group. So when we are going to do some good karmas, good deeds, or religious work, or any service, then there must be these qualities in our mind. Somanassa sahagata, jnana sampayutta, asankharika. All these details you can find in Dhammanda, the analytical interpretations of the Buddha's teaching, the nature of the mind. Now these three qualities must be there for us to experience the full result of our good karma. So what are those three things? Somanassa. There must be some sort of happiness in our mind when we are going to do some good service. The very moment when that idea appears in our mind, there must be some sort of happiness. Why did he say like this? There are many in this world who do a lot of good karma. But if we can understand the nature of their mind, they have not developed that happiness in their mind. As their duty, they do something, but no happiness. Since they cannot escape, they do something. If not others complain or criticize or grumble, they do some service. There is no happiness. If not to gain publicity, name, become very popular, it is not happiness, it is greed. If not by expecting something in return immediately, develop selfishness and craving, it is not happiness. So when we analyze all these things, we can understand. So here, the happiness means by knowing the services that we can render towards others to relieve their sufferings and miseries and problems and sicknesses and troubles, then the happiness. If not, or we are contributing this towards a worthy cause, religious work. Then what is the purpose of a religion? Religion is to educate people, to guide people, to understand things properly. So I am contributing, doing something for that purpose. Then the happiness, confidence appear in the mind. See the way how you have to analyze. That must be in the mind. If you think at once, like, oh, I must contribute more and more so that I can accrue a lot of merits. After my death, I can go to heaven and enjoy my life. You have developed your craving more and more. It is not happiness. The Buddha used this word actually. You should not be so silly. This word, he used. To think like that at once. You should not lower the validity of your merit by thinking at once, I am doing all these things for my own enjoyment, my personal gain. The happiness is the important thing. So Metta Sutta. Then Jnana Sampayutta. Jnana, just now I mentioned, jnana means knowledge, understanding. There must be some sort of understanding in our mind. Why should we do all these things? Why should we contribute? Why should we come and work? Now every Friday, in spite of various other activities, commitments and family obligations, you come here. Then what is your understanding?